Welcome to the Texas News Podcast, where we dive into all things Texas and the future of independence in the great state of Texas. On today's show, I'm going to be talking with someone who represents exactly what we need more of in Austin, a grassroots conservative who's had enough of the political games and is willing to step up and do something about it. So, if you want to hear more from a Texas First pledge signer who's taking on the establishment in East Texas, then don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Texas News Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Miller, president of the Texas Nationalist Movement. And, we spend a lot of time on this podcast talking about the big picture, right? Federal overreach, the need for Texas independence, the failures of the political establishment. But at the end of the day, change starts at the grassroots level with people who are willing to step up and challenge the status quo. And that's exactly what we're seeing with our guest today. Daniel Hunt is running for Texas House District 8, which covers parts of Anderson, Cherokee, Henderson, and Navarro counties in East Texas. But what makes Daniel's story particularly interesting is how he got to this point. You know, he's not some career politician simply looking for his next office. Daniel's a guy who's been working in Republican politics at the grassroots level for decades. County party chair in multiple counties, currently serving on the state Republican Executive Committee for SD3. You know, he knows how the system works, and he's seen firsthand how it's broken. Now, what pushed him over the edge was watching his current state representative, Cody Harris, be one of the 26 Republicans who broke quorum to prevent David Cook from becoming Speaker, and then turn around and vote with Democrats to make Dustin Burrows Speaker instead. And Daniel Hunt is a Texas First pledge signer, which means he's committed to giving Texans a vote on independence. So this isn't just about changing one seat in the legislature. No, Daniel's campaign is about building the coalition we need to advance Texas independence. So let's get into the conversation. Well, hey, Daniel, thank you so much for joining us today. And let's just start off with the obvious one. What do you prefer to be called Daniel, or do you like, or Dan, or what? What do you like? What do you prefer?
Either is fine. I was Dan all through growing up, and Daniel is the name I've used in my profession as an attorney. I use my full name, so either one is fine.
You and I have the same problem, right? It's, we had, since we share the same name, and, I'm going to just set an example for everyone out there. It's best to ask before you chop our names in half. Okay.
Amen.
All right.
Amen.
Well, Daniel, why don't you tell everyone, you're going to be running for office. You're already a candidate for state representative, but before we tear into that, let's talk a little bit about your background. What got you to this point?
I can tell you how I got involved in Republican politics. Back in 1984, I was 19 years old, and I got down to the Tarrant County Republican Party headquarters and volunteered to block walk for Ronald Reagan during his reelection campaign. That was the first time I was old enough to vote that year. And so that's how I got started in Republican politics. I thought I was a Republican at that point, and the more I learned, the more I knew that was, how I was going to fit in, and that's where my ideals matched up. And so I stayed involved, walked blocks and knocked on doors, made phone calls, stuffed envelopes for several different campaigns up until in the year 2000, I moved to New Jersey to start law school. And I got to New Jersey, and Republicans weren't as numerous in New Jersey.
You don't say.
But there were several of us in the law school, and so we started the Rutgers Law Republican Club. And we had great results with that. We were able to bring in local and state candidates and elected officials who were Republicans into the school. We got lots of pushback. They did not like us doing that, but we did it anyway. And we at least wanted to give the locals and the other students a chance to hear an alternative viewpoint from what they typically heard up there. And I think we were successful in that. Did we convince anybody who didn't already vote Republican to vote Republican? I don't know. I hope so. But we had some good success. I ended up being elected my third year class president, and which meant I got to select our graduation speaker. At that point, George W. Bush was the president, and Alberto Gonzales was his chief White House counsel. And so I was able to get Alberto Gonzales to come and speak at the commencement. And I'll tell you what, if we hadn't swayed anybody, he did. His speech was incredible. It was a conservative speech, but he delivered it in a way that they could relate. And also hearing it from a guy who is Hispanic, I think had a big impact on them to see that not all Republicans are, white, middle to upper class males. That there's other people out there that that tend to have those same values. And Alberto was able to express some of the Republican values, like I said, in a way that even a Yankee Democrat could understand. So anyway, I graduated. The day after graduation, I was in my car headed back to Texas because I'd had enough New Jersey. And I got back here, passed the bar, got a job in Cleburne, Texas, with the Johnson County Attorney's Office. And I got involved with the Johnson County Republican Party. And I was there about a year and helping them with some fundraising activities. The party was having some money problems at that point there. The Johnson County Party was. And so I'd helped them with some fundraising and some stuff. And the Republican women approached me and asked me if I would be interested in running for county chair. And I said, well, I don't know. I've never been a county chair before. I don't know. And they said, oh, we'll get you elected and we can help you. And they did. They walked block, knocked doors, all kinds of stuff to put up signs. They put up signs for a county party chair race for a job that doesn't pay anything. So I thought that was really interesting. But anyway, so I was the chair of the Johnson County Republican Party for 2 years. During that 2 years, I met my wife. We got married, or we were about to get married in 2008. And so I did not run for re-election as county party chair, but I stayed involved and helped. When I moved down to the Beaumont area in 2011, I got involved in, we were actually living in Tyler County, which is the Woodville, Texas area. I got involved in the Tyler County Republican Party and helped them get a little more organized. We actually wrote a county party platform, helped them get their county convention organized a little better, and went to 2 state conventions while I lived in Woodville. In 2016, my wife and I moved up to Athens, Texas, and I immediately got involved with the Henderson County Republican Party, helping them with some fundraising. And we put on our first big banquet up here in 2019. And then late 2019, the county party chair and I spoke. And she was a little bit older and had been county party chair for about 10 years. And she was willing to continue, but she wanted to resign, or not resign, but retire. And she asked me if I would take over, and I agreed. And so on January 1st, 2020, I took over as the Henderson County Republican Party chair. And we've had really good success here in Henderson County. We have 24 of 30 precinct chair positions are full. We have a good amount of money in the bank. We always need more, but we have a good amount of money in the bank. We've got a annual fundraising banquet that we hold. We've had delegations, large delegations, go to the state convention every year. We've gone from about a 70% Republican voting county to about an 89% Republican voting county during those 5 years too. And I don't take full credit for that. I think some national and state politics had a lot to do with that. But we've had that success while I'm here. And so that gets me to the present. I was elected in 2024 to be the State Republican Executive Committee for Senate District 3, which I got to travel all 18 counties of Senate District 3, meet with the people. And a common theme I heard was that they were not happy with their representation at the State House in Austin. And so I was listening to that, paying attention. And then when the legislative session started earlier this year, I was there quite often testifying on bills and meeting with reps and, just observing. And it quickly became apparent to me that people talk about the swamp in Washington, D.C. We have a swamp that's at least as mucky and deep in Austin as we do in D.C. There's a lot of games that are played down there. Reading the bills and then hearing what the representatives say about the bills is often two different things. They call a bill one thing, but it doesn't do what they call it, and that's disturbing. I guess the politics that were involved in choosing our speaker and voting on the House rules for the 89th legislature, all of that was just so backroom smoke-filled backroom dirty. It wasn't right. It's not what the people want. And I've always thought that the people are the government. I mean, Abraham Lincoln said, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. The people are the government. That's what's unique about the American experiment. And we elect the representatives to go down and run that government for us. So we're the owners of a business, and our electeds are our employees. They should be doing what we want them to do, not telling us what's going to happen. And so that's what led to me deciding to throw my name in the hat to run for House District 8 in the Texas legislature.
Well, yeah, let's unpack that a bit, right? Because
Sure.
You've got a good bit of history with the Republican Party here in Texas, and I mean, obviously, you're familiar with Article 1, Section 2 of the Texas Constitution that says that all political power is inherent in the people.
Exactly.
As we have watched this dysfunction for many, many years, I mean, obviously, the dysfunction at the state level in the Capitol is not new, not by any stretch of the imagination.
Correct.
But what has developed, I guess, over the last 2 or 3 sessions has been this almost utter contempt for the voters on the part of these electeds in Austin. And when I say contempt, I mean it's occasionally barely veiled, but it's still, now the mask is completely off, right? And we've got this full-blown war between the grassroots and, the electeds in Austin, which has translated obviously into a lot of guys jumping ship, shifting to try to find other offices. What do you think? I mean, how in the world is it that these guys express such contempt? There's so much discontent down at the grassroots level. How in the world are these guys, how do they just keep getting elected?
Well, I'll tell you, they're good salesmen. Maybe not the best kind of salesman, maybe like a used car salesman. I don't mean to disparage used car salesmen by saying that either.
Yeah. Please, all used car salesmen, withhold your hate mail. I will not be
Yeah,
answering any of it.
that was not a slam on used car salesmen, not at all. But the other part is the voters tend to not pay much attention. They every 2 years they vote, and then they go back to their life and they live their life for the next 2 years, and then nope, it's time for another election. They vote again, and they're not paying attention. Maybe they're paying attention to what's going on in Washington because that's on TV all the time, or you hear it on the talk shows on the radio or whatever. But there's not nearly the same coverage of what goes on in Austin, and the people have lives. They've got to work. They've got kids. They've got activities that they're involved in, and clubs they're involved in, and interests that they have, and so they elect these people, or as I say, they hire these people to represent them, and then they go back to their lives. And unless it's going to really hit them, in the pocketbook or some other way, then they don't really know what's going on in Austin.
Yeah.
And so whenever the state rep or senator comes back and tells them, okay, well, here's, I passed this bill that did this, the people just accept it, whatever they are told. And so they're not, I always encourage people to do research. I tell people we've got a great resource called Texas Legislature Online. It's available 24 hours a day. It's run by the clerks of the House and the Senate, and it's great. You can go there. You can read the text of the bill. You can read the analysis. You can see where it is in the process of passing. You can see when there's going to be a committee hearing. If you want to go to Austin and testify on a bill, you can do that. I did that about 8 times this session, well, including the special session. But most people aren't as interested in it as I am. And I think they just, and another thing is our newspapers and our TV and our radio, our media, it's not the same as it was in the 1830s when there was only one newspaper and that was the only outlet for news. And so they had no incentive to lie to you because they were going to get that advertising dollar no matter what, because they were the only game in town. Right. So they didn't have any reason to be sensational or skew the facts. They just told you the facts. Well, now we've got 24-hour cable news. We've got the internet. We've got cell phones in our pockets. We've got radio in the car. We've got, all these other sources of information, and they're all fighting for that ad dollar. And they have to have that sensational story to get more eyes and ears so that they can sell their ads for more money. And they've lost, the media has lost its function as that fourth branch of government that keeps the other three in check by keeping the populace informed. So people have to do that research themselves. And like I said, they've got other things going on, and they don't know how bad it is, so they don't do the research to find out how bad it is.
Right.
And so that's a lot of it. And so I think those two things conjoining is the people not really knowing and just believing the electeds who will tell them whatever they have to tell them to get reelected.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing, when you go out and talk to the average person, right? So, you go out on the street and, if you were to ask 100 people, what their definition of conservative was, you would get 100 different answers, mm-hmm. Or, you go out there and you talk to them about what their current pain points are. They'll tell you it's property taxes. They have concerns.
Exactly.
I can remember, leading up to recent years, University of Texas Tribune would do a joint poll. I think it was every 6 months, every quarter, whatever it was. And for like a decade, the number one concern for Texas voters was immigration and the border combined. But we had a Texas legislature that was perfectly willing to kind of shuffle it off, maybe give some half measures, put up this facade that somehow they were strong on the border when really nothing happened. And we're kind of in that same boat with property taxes. Daniel, I haven't met a single person, owner or renter, to be honest, that isn't impacted or upset or furious about property taxes and the fact that not only are they too high, but the fact that we still have them. And I'll tell you, personal observation, and you can feel free to disagree, but I honestly think the property tax issue is going to be the number one issue among Texas voters. And so,
I agree.
every single session, these guys come out and they tout most conservative session ever. Hey, we've dropped your property taxes. They slam us all with mailers, 6 inches thick. And I say 6 inches thick because that was how thick the mailers were from the Covey Phelan race last cycle. But it's all propaganda that they have actually done something. And yet here we are. Dan Patrick as lieutenant governor, since his first lieutenant governor's race, has promised property tax relief, eliminating property taxes. Still hasn't happened. I just, I kind of wonder why in the world are people falling for this? Is this going to be the cycle, in your opinion, where people wake up and say, yeah, this is not what I'm being told is not true?
Well, I'll tell you, everywhere I go, property tax is the number one issue that everyone is talking about right now. If you'd asked 2 years ago, it would have been the border. Now it's property tax for sure. When 2 years ago, the border was number one, property tax was probably number two. And you're right. Every year they tell us, oh, we did all of this to lower your property tax. 2 years ago in the 88th session, they raised the homestead exemption to $100,000. Well, that's great, except then the comptroller forced the local tax appraiser to raise the value of my property over $100,000. So my property taxes were actually higher than they were before I had the $100,000 exemption.
Yeah.
So it just, they're, like I said, they'll tell you something in a way they're not directly lying, but they're just not really telling you the truth.
Oh yeah.
They had a bill this in the second special session, Senate Bill 10, that was going to limit the amount that a taxing entity could increase its revenue from 3.5% to 2.5%. But it only applied to cities over 75,000. Well, that's great, except there's not a city in Henderson County where I live, or in any of the counties in my house district that have a city over 75,000 people. That's one issue. The other issue is they're trying to sell that bill as tax relief. That's not relief. They're just limiting how much it could be increased before we get to vote on it. That tax relief is lowering my property tax.
Right. Come on, Dave. Look, I mean, these guys are, when it comes to election time, these guys are political drag queens, right?
Exactly.
So guys like us can look at it and go, look, that gal has a beard. That's not a gal. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
But some people are kind of fooled by it. Maybe it's a hormone problem. I mean, they just kind of excuse it. But I mean, these guys are political drag queens. They throw on the costume of being conservative when it's time to campaign. They put on their show. They prance around the stage, and then they get done. They go put the costume away. And feel free to use that in your next stump speech when you call them political drag queens. I mean,
well, I use the term transpublican.
No, I mean, it's the same thing, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's the same thing. Well,
yes.
It's all performative, right? Well, I mean, obviously, kind of what we're talking about here eventually led you to say, you know what? I'm serving on the SREC, the State Republican Executive Committee, but I need to go take all of these years where I have been active, and I need to go do something in the legislature. So kind of tell us what led up to your decision to make the run for HD8.
Well, I will be honest. Originally, I wasn't thinking of running myself. I was looking around HD8, trying to find someone who would be a good person to run. And I found several people who I thought would be great state representatives, very conservative, follow the Republican Party platform and priorities, and communicate with their constituents back home. Listen to the wants and needs of those people, the people who employ them. But everyone that I talked to that I thought would be good, basically they didn't say they didn't say no, and not just no. They wanted to say something else.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to get involved because the people who know what a snake pit it is down there, what a swamp it is in Austin, and they don't want to get involved.
Yeah.
And so the more I looked around and the more people I talked to and the more people who said no, it came down to, well, I guess I'm going to have to do it myself. And it's not something I have had some, great ambition to do. Even a year and a half ago when I was elected to the SREC, I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm going to run, use this as a stepping stone. No, I didn't have this. This was not anywhere in my mind when I ran for SREC. I was thinking I'd be on the SREC for several terms. But the more I watched over the legislative term, and like I said, I was down there quite a bit watching and watching how our representative was not representing us. I thought something's got to be done. If I can't find anybody to do it, then I'll do it myself. Yeah. And that's and then there was a lot of prayer and conversations with my wife about it. And she I had to get her approval. I wasn't going to do it without her consent. And I don't know if she's really excited about me doing it or really excited about me being out of the house more often, but whatever it is, she's actually very in favor of it. So after a lot of talking with her and some prayerful reflection, I decided I would throw my name in.
Right. Well, and kudos to you for doing that. I can tell you, as a person who's run twice, for all of us, it is a grueling experience, and it can be because, yes, part of the challenge that you're going to have to contend with, and I'm sure you know this because you talked about the snake pit that Austin is. It seems as though those that are in the political establishment in Austin will do or pull whatever dirty tricks, or, I mean, they'll make it as nasty as they possibly can to maintain power. So I'm sure you're prepared for that. But a guy with your impeccable CV should have no problem batting that stuff down. Well, why,
right.
You said that you had been looking for somebody to make a run against Cody Harris. If we haven't mentioned him already, Cody Harris is the sitting rep there. What specifically was it that really motivated you to first find a candidate and then become that candidate?
Well, back in December, our state rep was one of the 26 Republicans who walked out of the Republican House caucus when they were trying to decide who they were going to nominate to be Speaker of the Texas House. And basically the way that worked is they were meeting on December 7th down in Austin, and it's all the 88 Republicans that had been elected, and they had to pick one under the Republican House caucus rules. They had to pick one nominee, and then all 88 Republicans were supposed to vote for that nominee. Well, there was one that had come to the surface, and then there was a couple others who came to the surface. Dade Phelan was in the race at first, and he eventually backed out, and he supported Dustin Burrows. And then there was David Cook had more support. He wasn't the most conservative choice, but he agreed that he would follow all of the Republican Party rules, the House rules, and that he would, work on push forward the Republican legislative priorities. So he ended up getting a great number of the votes, but not enough to win the nomination. So after 2 rounds, they still didn't have a nominee chosen. Well, there were about 40 of the Republicans walked out.
But wait, Daniel, hang on. Are you saying that Republicans broke quorum? Is that what I hear you say?
Exactly. They did the same thing the Democrats did during the first special session. Exactly. They walked out. There was a 30-minute break given. They walked out, and 30 minutes came and went. There was a chance to go to the bathroom, go get something to eat, whatever. They'd been in there for a couple hours at this point. But then 30 minutes went by, and 26 of them had not come back. And so there was a wait. There was a further delay while they tried to call and text these 26 who were missing, not getting any kind of response. Eventually, after 3 hours delay, they decided, look, we got to vote with who's here. And so out of 88, 26 of them weren't there. And so they went ahead and voted. And that's when Cook got the nomination. Well, Cody Harris was one of those 26. That was a big signal to me that something needed to happen. But then what really pushed me over the edge was when we organized. I was one of the organizers of the mini buses that came from around the state on January 14th down to the Capitol for the opening of the 89th legislature. That was the first day. And so they were going to have the speaker election that day. And we got down there and observed what was going on. And 36 Republicans, including Cody Harris, voted with 49 Democrats to make Dustin Burrows the Democrats' choice, the state speaker. In a Republican-dominated state House, the Democrats chose the Speaker of the House because these 36 Republicans allowed them to. Yeah. And our state representative was one of those. And that was really what pushed me over the edge of, okay, we've got to make a change. And then as the time went on and I couldn't find anybody else to do it, I realized that I was the one that was going to have to do it.
Well, again, kudos to you. And I mean, the irony of the quorum break is just, it doesn't escape me. Right. But let's move on because, real quick, those 26 are some of the ones that are yelling louder than anybody else about the Democrats leaving during the first special session. So I just thought that was ironic. Oh yeah. And they think, well, and it's true. A lot of people have political amnesia. They soak up a sponge. It's kind of like that episode of The Simpsons where Homer said he couldn't learn anything new because the last time he tried, he learned Spanish and forgot how to drive.
Yes.
So it's kind of like that. These folks just don't, they don't remember that this is the same bunch. And so, when Timu Alfred E. Newman, aka Jared Patterson, gets up there and raises holy heck over this stuff. It's they people have a tendency to forget. Well, let's do this because look, I know we got to move on. I've got you for a limited amount of time. So let's talk a little bit about your district. Now, obviously, you have signed the Texas First Pledge. We know what that entails, and I got to tell you, we're super appreciative of your support there. But obviously beyond the Texas First Pledge, what are going to be some of the key issues that are going to, I think, resonate in your campaign or key issues for your district? We already know property tax is going to be at the
Yeah.
top. What else are we dealing with in your district in particular?
Well, property tax is something that I think we could achieve. It's not something that's going to get done in one session. It would take probably 2 or 3, maybe more sessions, but I think we could get there. I think we could completely eliminate property tax eventually. Another huge issue right now in House District 8 is water. We have a guy from Dallas who, God bless him, he followed the law exactly, and he has, I think he's already drilled 2, but he's applied for permits to put in these mass wells that are going to just suck out huge amounts of water. And I'm not sure where he's sending it. I think he's sending it to Dallas, but I'm not sure. But he wants to tap into the Wilcox Carrizo Aquifer, which that's the source of water for a lot of East Texas. All of Henderson County, Anderson County, Cherokee County, I think part of Navarro County, and even some of the counties further south. That's where our water comes from. We have lakes, but here in Henderson County, we have 2 lakes, one on either end, on the east end and on the west end of the county, that are both owned by the Tarrant County Regional Water District, and all the water in those lakes goes to Fort Worth and Tarrant County. We don't get that water. The water we rely on comes from the aquifer. The water, if I go turn the tap on at my house, that water came out of that aquifer. If they're, sucking mass amounts of water out of that aquifer is eventually going to run out. It can only replenish so fast. And so if something needs to be done about that. The problem is, and this goes back to our current state rep, he knew or should have known about these permits. These permits were requested well over a year ago. Why did he not have a bill ready in the regular session this year to stop this, to prevent our water, our life source, from being taken? And this is not just what people drink or shower in or use to wash the dishes or flush the toilet. We water our cows with this. We water our crops with this. This is what we rely on. This is life and death out here. If we lose our water, we're done. It doesn't matter how much oil or electricity we have. If we got no water, we're done. So water is a huge issue. Now, how do we solve it? At this point, I don't know that it can be stopped. The permits are already applied for. Any laws that get passed from here on out aren't going to be retroactive to stop it. So there's a big problem there, and that issue needs to be addressed. Part of it is the rule of capture. If you drill a well and you pull the water out, that's your water. You can do with it whatever you want. Yeah. Maybe we need to adjust the rule of capture. But there's some things that could be done, and they should have been done in the regular session. Some other things we need to work on fixing our public schools. They passed what they called a school choice bill. It was really a school funding and regulation of private and home schools bill, but it's passed, it's done, and it might need some adjustment and changes. But we got to fix public schools, because some people are going to be required to go to public school due to their financial situation, or maybe where they live, there's no private schools. So we got to do something about fixing the public schools. I don't think that's going to cost any more money. I just think we need to readjust the structure of our schools. I think we have way too many administrators in our schools. We need more teachers. We don't send our kids to school to be administrated. We send them to be educated by teachers. So there's some things that could be done there. We got to fix the public schools. Other issues. I want to work very hard on reducing the regulations on small local businesses. God bless Walmart. They bring these mega stores into these towns, and you can get everything you need. But then the mom and pop stores disappear, and that money ends up going to Bentonville, Arkansas. We need that money kept here. and we need people to keep those jobs and those businesses local. So I want to do whatever we can to reduce regulation, encourage small business growth. But those are a few of the things. There's a lot more, and we'll talk about my website in a little bit. But I have several things listed on my website.
Yeah, and we'll get to that here in a moment. Well, I'll tell you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, obviously for us, you know, the mission of the TNM, political, cultural, economic independence. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the things that you're talking about are all things that are squarely within, you know, what we work on. I mean, Texas is the 8th largest economy in the world. But part of the challenge that you have just addressed is, you know, infrastructure. Are we suited from an infrastructure standpoint to handle growth through our future? You know, and I know there's some, you know, I think Project 2036 is one of those. You know, I don't think they call it that. That's my nickname for it. But, you know, there is this idea that suddenly we have to provide all of this particular infrastructure. And granted, I can get behind that. You know, we need to be as self-sufficient as we possibly can. We need to have smart growth. But it seems that so much of it is fixated in the major metropolitan areas and up and down the I-35 corridor.
Yes.
And I think, you know, the folks from Northeast Texas, where I'm originally from, all the way down here to Southeast Texas and out there west of I-35 and out in the Panhandle, I think the rural people are effectively getting locked out of those discussions. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. The majority of the people in Texas live in the rural areas. If you add up, you know, what is there, like 10 counties, or the 10 largest counties with El Paso and Fort Worth, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, all of that. If you add up all the population in those counties, there's actually more population in the rural areas if you add up all the rural counties. But we seem to get the short end of the straw, of the stick, every time we just get shafted. It's like they forgot about us. Like I mentioned earlier, the limiting the amount the property tax revenue can increase only targeted the 10 largest counties. That's a problem. I don't know why. Why didn't it address all 254 counties? I don't know. It should have.
Don't we have a certain guarantee of equal protection under the law? You know,
exactly. Well, and that's another thing. It goes back to it appears what our current state government is trying to do is very similar to what happened at the national level recently. They're trying to centralize government in the nation, in DC, and in Texas, in Austin. And if you recall your history, both entities, Texas and the United States, fought a war against a tyrant to oppose centralized government.
Sure.
That was the whole purpose of fighting. That's why we wanted to fight Santa Anna. When the Mexican Constitution of 1824 was great. It gave local control, and then Santa Anna got elected and became a dictator and wanted to centralize everything in Mexico City, and the Texians didn't like that, and that's why we had a revolution. Same thing for what happened in the 13 colonies. They fought the most powerful nation on the earth because they wanted to control themselves. They didn't want somebody on the other side of the ocean telling them what they had to do and taking all their money,
sure,
and their guns.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've said it before for many years, and it was deemed too controversial. Probably still is among some circles, but look, as a Cold War kid, I can look at what's happening in Austin and Washington D.C. and see the reflection of Soviet-style central planning. I know it when I see it. You know, and this is what we're contending with, and especially here in Texas, where you've got 75% of voters located in about 32 counties. And so from a statewide policy perspective, there's a tendency to cater to those, and that's those big urban areas. And folks in Henderson County, or where I'm originally from, Gregg County, or here in Jefferson County, get the short end of the stick, and that's just the way that it works. Well, look, let me ask you a question about the campaign, because I know, like I said, I know our time's limited. So, you're obviously running a grassroots campaign because you're coming straight from the grassroots. I'd like to get your take, because I'm asking a lot of candidates about this. But can you really speak to the importance of volunteers to these grassroots campaigns?
Absolutely. Volunteers are 100% necessary. You have to have people to help you walk blocks and knock doors and hand out push cards and signs and help you with setting up meet and greets and setting up different events that you want to, chances to get out and talk to people. Without volunteers, there's no way one person can run for office just on their own by themselves. They can try, but it's going to be a lot of work and very little result. You've got to have that support from the people within your district, volunteers within your district. And it's not a bad thing to get volunteers outside your district to come in, but you've got to have that base support in your district to help you to know about other events, outside events that are going on that you may want to attend. Volunteers are invaluable. Absolutely. I've been very lucky. I've got several volunteers in each of the 4 counties in House District 8. And so like this past Saturday, I was at a car show in Jacksonville, and I had 7 people there helping me, walking around, handing out push cards. And I was there talking to the people, not just the car show participants, but the spectators who came to look at the cars. But that's a way, those are ways that volunteers can help. But also, when it comes time to door knock, you need an army to door knock. Volunteers are absolutely invaluable, 100%. The other thing that not a lot of people think about, if freedom, and I'll tell you, I heard this from a very wise man named Brett Rogers. This isn't my original idea. If freedom were a commodity, how much would you pay for it? Well, people need to contribute to a campaign also, because signs and push cards, they cost money. Putting on meet and greets costs money. All of that's going to, all of these are things that have to be paid for. Advertisements on the TV or newspaper or radio or whatever you're going to do. Mailers, all of that costs money. So in addition to the physical volunteering, the labor of volunteering, people need to be ready to fork out a little money, donate a little money to a campaign. The candidate doesn't get that money. I wish I did. I wish I had that money. It would make it a lot easier to make my car payment, but I don't. I have to spend that money on campaign items. Signs are incredibly expensive. Advertising is expensive, but you have to do that to get your name out. And so volunteers and campaign contributions are both very, very important.
Oh yeah, look, you can have a candidate that is absolutely impeccable on paper, but what makes them viable is a combination of money and manpower. And the less money you have, the more manpower you need, and the less manpower you have, the more money you need. So it's really, really the bottom line. Well, Daniel, look, I appreciate you being on with me today. Why don't you tell people where they can find out more about your campaign?
Absolutely. I do have a website. It's danielhunttx.com. And it tells a little bit about who I am, tells about some of the things I want to accomplish, things that I think we can accomplish. And then there's also a link on there to either volunteer. There's also a link to make a contribution to the campaign. But it's www.danielhunttx.com.
Well, fantastic. Well, again, Daniel, thank you so much. for joining us on the Texas News Podcast. Much appreciated. And look, you're basically a stone's throw away. I have a sneaking suspicion I'm going to see you sooner rather than later.
I hope so.
All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, take care and good luck to you, buddy.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, friends, there you have it. Daniel Hunt, candidate for Texas House District 8 and Texas First Pledge Signer. You know, what I appreciate about Daniel's story is that it shows how the independence movement is attracting serious people who understand the system and are fed up with how it works. As you can tell, Daniel's not some outsider just throwing bombs. He's someone who's been involved in Republican politics for decades. And he's reached the conclusion on his own that the current system is broken beyond repair. You know, the issues that Daniel talked about, property taxes, water rights, rural representation, these are exactly the kinds of issues that demonstrate why Texas needs to govern itself. When you have a state representative who doesn't even try to protect his district's water supply from being shipped off to Dallas, that tells you everything you need to know about where his priorities lie. The fact that Cody Harris was one of the 26 Republicans who broke quorum and then voted with Democrats to install Dustin Burrows as Speaker just confirms what we already knew. There is a uniparty in Austin that's more interested in maintaining the establishment than representing the people who elected them. But it's candidates like Daniel Hunt that are stepping up. People who understand that real change requires getting involved at the ground level, building grassroots support, and being willing to challenge incumbents who have sold out their constituents. So a reminder, as Daniel said, his campaign website is danielhunttx.com. And I'd encourage folks in House District 8 to check it out. You know, whether you can volunteer, contribute, or just spread the word, grassroots campaigns like Daniel's need all the help they can get. Because this is how we build the coalition we need for Texas independence. One race at a time, one Texas First Pledge Signer at a time, one principled candidate at a time. And when you have career politicians more interested in playing political games than representing their constituents, it's up to people like Daniel Hunt to step up and provide an alternative. And so, friends, that is a wrap for this edition of the Texas News Podcast. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you are experiencing this podcast. If you'd like more information on the Texas Nationalist Movement, head over to tnm.me. That's tnm.me. Or you can check out the official news side of the Texas Nationalist Movement, the Texian Partisan. Head over to texianpartisan.com. And, of course, you can always join us on TNM Social and talk to other like-minded people just like you. Head over to tnm.social. That's tnm.social today and get signed up. And with that, I will leave you with the words that I leave you with every time we're together. They're not my words. They're the words of Sam Houston when he said that Texas will again lift its head and stand among the nations. I believe that time is now, and the question is, will you stand with her?